From creative collaborations with consumer-adored clothing brands to hypnotically choreographed celebrity-endorsed video campaigns, the legendary brand, known for its touchstone take on denim, crisp white button-downs, and logo-adorned hoodies, has been given the opportunity for a much-needed revival, all at the helm of revered designer Zac Posen. My name is Elizabeth Grace Coyne, a writer, editor, and journalist reporting on the intersection of fashion, culture, technology, sustainability, and business. And in today's video, I'll be discussing the ways in which Posen, exactly 1 year into his role as creative director for Gap Inc., has completely transformed the Gap brand, taking back the retail giant's position as the go-to destination for trend-adjacent, casual, and comfortable clothing at affordable prices. I'll be touching on the designer's background, including his integration into the Gap brand, examining how the retailer has undergone a major shift in public perception, and commenting on Posen's brand strategy. Thankfully, the research stage for this segment of the video was made entirely less daunting by the sheer volume of coverage Posen and his new stint in the hot chair at Gap Inc. has been given in the past few months. Without scrolling too far, Google results for Posen's name include a Vogue interview, a New York Times feature story, a Business of Fashion podcast appearance, and a segment on Good Morning America. Known for his exquisite design work and notable collection of luxury gowns, often worn by Hollywood A-listers and heavily photographed on the red carpet, Posen joined Gap Inc. in February of 2024, stepping into a role created exclusively for him by President and Chief Executive Officer Richard Dixon, after Len Peltier, who was previously running the business's creative efforts, stepped down in August of 2023. The retail conglomerate, formed from recognizable brands including Gap, Banana Republic, Old Navy, and Athleta, defined its mission on its official webpage with the following statement: "We are building a high-performing house of iconic American brands that shape culture. From the clothes we create to the communities we engage to the culture we shape, everything we do is designed to imagine better." Holding similar views, Posen issued a statement in February of last year that amplified this pursuit, saying, "I'm eager to join Gap Inc. as a brand reinvigoration kicks up across the portfolio, rooted in great production, experiences, and a new culture of creativity." From his initial introduction to now, the designer has made enormous strides in the development of all Gap Inc. brands. In American Vogue's most recent YouTube video, which follows a day-in-the-life format and features Posen as the subject, shows firsthand just how integrated the designer is within each retailer. At one point in the video, the camera pans across Posen's San Francisco office at the Gap Inc. headquarters and gives viewers a look at the image-filled walls lined with campaign imagery, color story inspiration, and future Instagram matrix models. However, for today's video, I want to focus exclusively on the work Posen has done for the Gap brand specifically, as I feel this is where the designer has really been able to stand out, with his influence on the brand capturing the interest of all consumers, even those who don't normally have an eye on the shifting landscape of the fashion industry and the creatives behind their favorite retailers. So how has the Gap brand actually been impacted by Posen's new foothold in the creative direction of the once unrivaled retailer? To best examine this, it's essential we go back in time and look at the data that illustrates how Gap was performing only a few years prior. According to an article published by the Business of Fashion in October of 2024, Gap sales had been steadily declining for more than 20 years prior to the integration of Posen's position within the brand, generating $14.9 billion in net sales in 2023, which they compared to the $16.6 billion Gap generated in 2018. The same article pinpoints the rise of H&M, Zara, and Uniqlo, and their consistency in discounted pricing as the main disruptors to the American fashion landscape, and subsequently the Gap brand as a whole, who had previously been competing successfully against large-scale department stores. Now, while I do think this change in the volume of similar retailers at lower price points was dominant in the brand's downfall, I personally wanted to touch on a theory I believe to be important when discussing this shift, simply put as the decline of brand loyalty. A pattern I've noticed in my own personal circles and repeated in the shopping behaviors of those who publish content online is the separation the average consumer has from the stores they frequent. Caused by what I can only assume is the influence of a rapid trend cycle, it's clear that consumers are no longer shopping in the ways they used to. Previously, an individual may frequent a handful of their favorite stores once a season, picking their best liked items from the retailer's selection of garments and inadvertently staying on trend because everyone in their immediate area was doing the same thing and shopping from the same places. Now, the average consumer is not only inundated by hundreds of stores available to them online, but the trends appear on a per-piece basis and are purchased without any regard for the brand selling them. So instead of being loyal to a brand and shopping the latest collection for new pieces, consumers are instead loyal to styles, shopping for them without preference of what brand they're from. Instead of shopping for Janko jeans or juicy couture sweatsuits, all items that needed to be purchased specifically from one brand, consumers are instead looking for barn jackets or low-waisted jeans, blanket items that are repeated in a number of different stores so the consumer can take their pick based on fit, style, or price point. It's this change in consumer behavior that I believe to be one of the main reasons Gap had a hard time shifting gears a few years ago, and why Posen's commitment to keeping the Gap brand aligned with modern trends in clothing silhouettes, colorways, and labels has been so transformative. In the past year, Posen has integrated one main quality into the Gap brand that has made a huge difference in its perception from young consumers: collaboration. Partnering with sought-after labels like Madhappy, Doen, and Cult Gaia, as well as celebrity influences in music like Tyla and Troye Sivan, perfectly timed as the artists were at the peak of public affection and effortlessly tied into the brand's sales strategy for linen and denim respectively, have kept the Gap brand top of mind for Gen Z and Gen Alpha shoppers when they think of cool places to browse for new trendy items. Simple as it may sound, these links between popular people and labels do work, and have worked for Gap thus far. Additionally, something I think that has helped push Gap past where they were previously stuck pre-Posen is the brand's alignment with their own staple products, including the previously mentioned denim, crisp-cut white button-downs, and logo-adorned hoodies. These items were once key to keeping Gap relevant to shoppers looking for high-quality basics, but as the market has shifted and the wants of the consumer are slightly different, they just don't hold the same value within the brand's arsenal of fashions. While Posen hasn't completely pushed away the idea of legacy products from the brand's image, they're no longer relying on them to keep Gap relevant and consumers coming back. To put some numbers behind this change in Gap's marketing, I went ahead and used its third quarter financial report from 2024 to aid in the assessment of the brand's growth. According to the report from Gap Inc., net sales of $3.8 billion were up 2% compared to 2023, and online sales increased 7% compared to 2023. Additionally, the report cited a quote from Dixon, who commented on the newfound growth of the brand and the success of the business up until this point, saying, "I'm proud that Gap Inc. has delivered another successful quarter, growing net sales for the fourth consecutive quarter and gaining market sales across all brands while meaningfully expanding operating margin." The general sentiment for the brand's creative redirection and overall makeover has been overwhelmingly positive, with a number of optimistic reviews of Gap on social media, generally positive reception to the retailer's paid-for branded content, and indisputable likes and comments on Gap's own video campaigns. I went through the comments on Gap's Get Loose campaign video starring Troye Sivan, and was pleasantly surprised to see a comment that read verbatim, "I think this is the best Gap commercial I've seen in my entire life." In addition to being a pretty funny and wonderfully positive YouTube comment, I think it perfectly sums up the way Gap has been able to capture consumers' attention with promotional strategy and marketing materials that are fun, entertaining, and most importantly, sell clothes. As a longtime fan of the brand, it's been so fun to see Gap work its way back into the cultural lexicon and win the hearts of young consumers. While I do think the brand still has some work to do, mostly in terms of clothing quality and the layout of physical storefronts, the brand has come a long way from its previously declining state just 1 year ago, in huge part due to Posen and his role as creative director. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Elizabeth Grace Coyne, and I hope you enjoyed this video.